Today we have with us one of the most eminent environmentalists in India, Ms. Jis Sebastian. Seeing a passion and love for nature, we can be sure that the ecology of India is in safe hands. Friends, welcome to Only Green, and Only Green is all about making our world a greener place. Ms. Jis Sebastian specializes in the distribution pattern of orchids in the Western Ghats. She has studied the distribution of orchids to understand and elaborate how their environmental conditions can indicate climate changes. She is now working on a project to restore orchids in Wayanad, Kerala. Today she is talking to us about the need of diverse agroecosystems which can withstand the irregular patterns in climatic conditions today. This can help us mitigate the hardships, poverty, and even the global warming. Friends, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss anything. Thank you, and over to Ms. Jis Sebastian.
Warm Namaskaram. I'm Jis Sebastian. I'm a doctoral scholar in Madurai Kamaraj University. I consider myself as a forest ecologist. I studied orchids for my doctoral research in the southern Western Ghats of Kerala. I'm sure like all of you are well aware of this plant group called orchids, and it is also possible that some of you may be very fascinated by this particular group of plants because they are very charismatic and they are widely used all over the world in horticulture, floristry, and even in fragrance industries. So they are a source of income in some countries as well. So for my doctoral research, I studied epiphytic orchids. What are epiphytic orchids? Orchids that grows on trees for a mechanical support are known as epiphytic orchids, but they don't obtain nourishment from the trees at the same time. So let me tell you a brief idea. Let me give you a brief idea about epiphytes in general. Epiphytes, if you look at the tropical forest, you will see that the presence of epiphytes is like very high. It makes like almost 10% of the entire vegetation. So and there have been a lot of research going on to identify why these epiphytes are a major component in the tropical forest, and most of these scientists found that they make these epiphytes are a major component and they support a vast diversity of different kinds of flora and fauna. So also they increase the photosynthetic capacity of the canopy, and they support different kinds of vast diversity of fauna, sometimes small and big, and they store nutrients and they store water and act as a storage or keystone resource for other fauna and flora, and they regulate the climatic conditions within the canopy. And so these are some of the most important findings about epiphytes. And so there was this scientist who has done an interesting experiment within the canopy, within the tree canopy, and he found that when he removed the mass of epiphytes from a number of branches, he observed that the temperature was going very high without the presence of epiphytes. So he came to the conclusion that these epiphytes regulate the climate within the canopy, and at the same time they are being influenced by the climatic conditions in the atmosphere. So if you look at the forest canopy, it is an interface between the atmosphere and the forest floor. So whatever happens in the atmosphere or the forest floor is going to affect the forest canopy, and whatever happens in the forest canopy is surely going to affect the forest floor. So the health of the tropical forest ecosystem may be understood by observing the health of the forest canopy, and health of the forest canopy is kind of dependent on the epiphytes that are present there. So that is the importance of epiphytes. So now let's go to epiphytic orchids. Among epiphytes, orchids are the most successful group of epiphytes. So this make them a very suitable group of plants to be representing epiphytes. So I studied epiphytic orchids, I tried to identify the influence of habitat or different forest types, or the tree characteristics and the climatic conditions on the pattern of orchid distribution. So it took me like around 5 years to come out with some patterns, and the major takeaway from my research was that orchids are influenced by the structural diversity of trees. So it may be explained it as more than the habitat characteristics, more than the geographical characteristics, or more than the tree characteristics. It was the structural diversity within a tree that was more important for orchids. So if a forest that is less disturbed, it would definitely have huge mature trees growing in there, and these trees would have different climatic conditions within itself. Each tree would have different climatic conditions. So there is this classification by Johansen in 1974. He identified 4 different zones in a single tree, which means each zone would have its own habitat conditions, its own climatic conditions, that may be termed as microhabitat or microclimatic conditions. So whatever climate you experience when you are under the tree would be totally different from the climate that you experience within the crown of the same tree. So this variation in the, or this gradients of this environmental conditions in the same tree is actually dependent on how diverse this tree is. If the tree is huge and mature, it would have like amazing canopy, it would have n number of branches, and each branch would create a very unique position. It would create a unique habitat with the support of different factors. So that is the basic choice by epiphytic orchids. So if a tree is structurally very diverse, it is going to create n number of micro habitats supported by microclimatic conditions for epiphytic orchids. So this was very interesting finding for me. And during this research, there was this site in Wayanad that I was very fond of. This particular site was not a forest, but a semi-natural plantation that was close to natural forest. And these plantations had coffee, cardamom and cocoa planted in there. And these plantations maintains these native trees as shade trees, because these crops prefer shade trees. And these native trees are pretty huge because they have been there for the last probably 200 years, and most of them are pretty huge with this amazing canopy, with amazing structural diversity, amazing architecture. And as a result, we observed a huge number of orchids that are unique or that are endemic to the Western Ghats. And this was pretty interesting because when I checked research, when I had a detailed review of literature, I found that a large number of research that has been done from different parts of the world in the tropics especially suggests that these kind of landscapes, like agricultural landscapes, like coffee forest or cardamom forest, or mostly coffee forest, they support this amazing diversity of plants and animals because of the presence of these structurally diverse native trees. So I observed in the same place that they not only support orchids, but they become kind of a habitat for different kinds of spiders and different kinds of epiphytes, and they support different kinds of spiders, mites, aphids, insects, birds, and a huge diversity of these small tiny creepy faunas. And also they obviously sequester carbon, and they nourish the agricultural landscape, and they regulate the local climate. So this particular system was it sounded just amazing to me. And also we got this huge diversity of orchids from the same land. After this unique experience of experiencing this agricultural landscape, especially coffee forest, I came back to my own ancestral land where rubber is planted as a monocrop. So you might be able to see a bit of it. So we do have rubber plantations, and it's not very intensive, or there is no big investment that is done, and as a result we certainly have a lot of plants growing along with rubber. So and this kind of promotes biodiversity, the native biodiversity. So I spent some time in observing the kind of biodiversity that may be present in the rubber plantations, and after some days I was totally surprised to find that these rubber plantations are supporting a huge diversity of fauna and flora. We certainly do have a lot of different plants, and when it comes to fauna, it's like we have like 3 to 4 different species of bats. We have civets in here. We have gray-naped hare, or you can say rabbit, and then we have this tarantula spiders moving in here. So this rubber plantation turned out to be like very diverse, something that I have never had noticed before. So I was totally surprised and amazed to know the huge amount of biodiversity that I observed in our own rubber plantations. So after these 2 experiences, I started thinking about the importance of this agricultural landscape, because based on my research and based on my own observations in our land, it seems that the agricultural landscape has the potential to support native biodiversity along with the crops. As we all know, we are in a climate crisis, and the biggest threats that we are going to face from this climate crisis is that the changing climate is going to lead to global warming, and as a result the first major threat would be food insecurity, because the existing intensive agricultural practices cannot withstand the irregular patterns in climate, and as a result you can imagine loss of livelihood, poverty would be like dominating everywhere, and this gradually going to increase pressure on the protected areas and forest all over the world, and going to reduce the forest cover, and as a result another challenge would appear, that would be loss of biodiversity. Yes, so what is the kind of solution to this? And I believe the solution could be agroecosystems. A large body of research suggests that farmers who cultivate diverse crops in an integrated way survive extreme weather events, and produce greater yield and increase their income. So we certainly have evidence to say that these agroecosystems can conserve the native biodiversity, and therefore it can ensure the ecosystem services, it can ensure the health of the soil, and it can regulate the local climate, and as a result it can ensure a food security for you. It can generate multiple livelihood options for you, and so I think this is the way that we should be choosing right now. So the summary is that diverse agroecosystems can beat all the major challenges posed by climate change. So let us create diverse agroecosystems. Let's take the pain to help ourselves, our families, villages, towns or cities to create diverse agroecosystems to support ourselves. Let's create a sustainable future for all of us.